I am Heidi Benjaminson, your host of Confidence Coaching, a podcast for mothers who want less worry and more connection. Life isn't a spectator sport. Success comes to those who show up every day with a pocket full of courage, grit, and a little sparkle. I'm glad you're here. Hello. Welcome to episode 143, Feeling Left Out. Y'all, I really like this episode. I hope that your year has started out well. We are close to moving into our new house. Oh man, these months have reminded me that I am not so good at waiting. Patience isn't my strength. And I've also learned I can be patient and make the best of it. Oh, imagine that. Okay, again, I'm really excited for today's topic, feeling left out. Because if you listen today, re-listen a few times, have self-awareness of your own thoughts, your own body language, actions, y'all, you can really change your experience in the world, your experience with friends. You can change your emotional vibe by changing just how you think about being included or not. Okay, so what is feeling left out? Maybe it's the opposite of feeling included. So feeling left out, it's that pit in our stomachs, in our chest, that feeling we get when either we aren't invited or we aren't included in an event or something. Social media can for sure magnify this. If you see people at something and then you think, oh, I was excluded from that. Or a friend mentions that she and a mutual friend went shopping yesterday and you immediately think, oh, why didn't they invite me? Or 3 coworkers go walking every day at lunch. You see them lace up their shoes, they happily go out, and you wish you were part of their group. Feeling left out can also be the sensation we can feel when we go somewhere to a gathering or an event and we feel alone. We don't think that we have a lot of people to talk to. Maybe we don't feel like we have things in common, quietly waiting for people to come up to us. Or walking into a dinner party and everyone's talking in small groups and you only see their backs and you think you're being left out. Now, I'm going to talk about both of these situations because even though the circumstances are different, one we're invited, the other one we're not invited, the feelings we have of rejection, maybe of inferiority, of being left out, are coming from our thoughts. They're coming from the stories that we're making up in each of the situations. And the way to change our experience, to change our demeanor, to change and become someone who others want to include, the way is similar for both. Now, this feeling of thinking that you're left out, it may seem like deeply personal rejection for some. And I can agree. I can see how it feels like rejection. But I think feeling left out is a very specific emotion, and it's easier for us to identify. Oh, I'm feeling like I was left out of that party. I was left out of the discussion about such and such. No one talked to me when I arrived at school, at church, or so on. So where does this feeling come from? Why do we all feel it from time to time? First, we are all wired as humans to want to be included. Our need to belong and be part of a group is a primitive survival instinct we all have. Our lower brain has not evolved since the cave days where it was really, for real, life or death if the pack or the tribe was going to protect us or kick us out. This is why being included, being liked, being part of a group is important to all of us. And this is also why rejection, it can feel like death. Literally, our brain processes rejection in the same part that it processes pain. We are wired this way, so we get a dopamine hit if we say a joke and everyone likes it and we do things that we perceive make us likable. And likewise, we're wired to learn to avoid doing those things that the group won't like or will get us ostracized. So there's nothing immature about wanting to be included, of wanting someone to sit with at a party. We all have this innate lower brain need. It's just that we don't want this need driving how we act. We don't want this insecurity driving our cars. We want it in the back seat, and we want our higher confident brain in charge. We are all humans, and we all also have a prefrontal cortex that has evolved from the primitive cave-dwelling days. This part of our brain has the ability to access each situation and pivot how we show up. In a moment, we can see what we're doing, and we can change how we behave so that we are included. Because if we run around needing to be included, we reek of insecurity, which ends up being a repelling vibe. Desperation isn't an inviting cologne. So digging into this insecurity ends up being something that changes many of my clients' lives. Seeing how my thoughts and insecure actions perpetuated me feeling left out has led to a lot of awareness on my part and changing the vibe I put off. It could be true that people have left me out, but I don't have to feel left out at all. So how do we manage and pivot these emotions? Several years ago, my family was with mutual friends and we were meeting up with family friends of our friends at a restaurant. These were people that we had heard so much about and we knew that we would like. We arrived first. It was at a fast food type restaurant. I think it was Five Guys, a place where you order your food and then you get your table. We arrived with our friends, we ordered and we found our tables. It was all very casual, and several minutes later, their family friends arrived. After they ordered, and remember, they don't know us, they came and they sat with their backs to us. Our friends were busy doing things with their food and their kids, and I remember my husband and I looked at each other. It was clearly a situation where someone could choose to take offense. And what I remember is I thought to myself, how does a confident person think and act? Do I want to think that they're being rude? They haven't met us yet. Do I want to be someone who needs everyone else to make the first move? No, I don't. This isn't who I am. It's easier that way, but I want to act confident here. I thought, a confident person here is thinking, of course these people want to get to know us. A confident person is thinking, of course we aren't being left out or being slighted. Of course there's no bad intent. Even if there was, it isn't about us. I thought, I want to be confident. I can be the one to move, to go sit with them and introduce myself and my family. I can be the one to reposition. I can initiate. That is what confident people do. And it could be these people don't like us, which of course isn't the case. But confident people are not wondering if this other person likes us. Confident people are thinking, I like me. I have a lot to offer. I want to get to know these people. Let me be curious and ask them questions. Confident people smile, extend their hand, even just symbolically in how they position their body. Confident people have a nice, kind, inviting thing to say. They aren't looking forward in ways in which they aren't being included. Now, I did just this. I moved myself, I sat with them, introduced us, and we all became one big group. These are super lovely people. In fact, the world is full of super lovely people. And if we can change our mindset from looking for ways that we're being left out and can start initiating conversations with these lovely people, we're included in more than we can imagine because we create a hypothetical crowd around us. Our vibe attracts our tribe. From this example, you can see my thinking changed my behavior. Even though my body initially processed the rejection feeling for just a second, I caught it and I realized I wasn't being left out. I wasn't being rejected, and I didn't want to act from that place. I didn't want the result that insecurity would give me. My body language was very, very important. Thinking that we are left out, it leaves our face with scowls. We hunch our shoulders, we stay in the back, or maybe at the end of a group. We don't initiate conversations. We literally present ourselves to the world as people who aren't interesting, who aren't worth including. I know I'm not that type of person. I quickly visualized how someone who feels good about themselves acts in that situation, and I did it, even if I felt a little nervous. Notice this confidence, it isn't arrogance or a feeling of superiority. Those emotions usually fuel people to distance themselves and perpetuate being left out. Confidence is looking to learn about others, and it feels equal. So much of feeling left out of a gathering, of a party, of a team meeting, a family reunion, whatever it is, it comes from how we interpret what others are doing, how they are sitting, what they say, and so on. It comes from our own heads, from our thoughts. Notice, do you think people intentionally sit with their backs to you because they don't want to talk to you? Or do you give generous interpretation, like it's an accident or there's no bad intent to their actions? I challenge you to notice what you think in these situations. You are human to have maybe those initial thoughts of being left out. Do you feel this a lot though? Do you feed those stories, maybe with some Miracle-Gro, and you share them over and over with people? If so, notice these stories and meanings come from your interpretations. They don't come from others. And do you like how you feel? Do you like how you act? Most of us would say no to this. Then take one of those small situations and do what I did in the 5 guys. Start small, pivot your thinking. Picture how someone confident will act, how they will stand. Confident people will make eye contact, will smile, will give someone else a compliment. Confident people are willing to put their hand out and make the first move. Notice what you have to think to do this. Be okay with the nervousness. Be okay that the other person may not reciprocate. It's okay. Their reaction is about them. It isn't about you. I recently moved to a new state, a new city, a new everything. Although everyone has been astoundingly kind, open, and nice, I really haven't expected or needed anyone else to do this. For the first weeks and months, everywhere I went, I would say, "Oh, I'm new here. Can you answer this question?" My first week here, I mentioned to the woman at the gym sitting on a rower next to me that I was new, and it was my daughter's first day of 10th grade at a new school. We struck up a short conversation. Her daughters were at another school in town. Later in the week, she saw me again, and she asked how my daughter was doing. It would be easy to go to my gym or my church or anywhere for the first time and think, I don't know anyone. Or misread if someone just walks by and doesn't smile or say hi. I have visualized how I want to sit. I want to think I am someone who has a lot to offer. I like myself. I don't need everyone here to like me. I want to be someone who can introduce themselves. I also want to find the good in everyone else. I have to say, so many people have reached out and invited us over, asked us to do things. And at the same time, I've taken the initiative to text other couples, go out to restaurants. We'll have people over finally when we're in a house, but I haven't waited for others to include me. I don't want to feel left out, so I'm working hard to carry myself with a smile, with quiet confidence. I don't want the needy, insecure vibe of always being offended or constantly feeling left out. Even if people are offensive, and even if they do leave us out, it's okay. I don't want that to be the vibe and the energy I carry through my life. We're about to move to a small neighborhood. Are people already friends? Are they already in some groups? Maybe. Who knows? I'm going to be focusing on my actions, on being friendly, on introducing myself, being someone who's interesting, being willing to get other people's contact information and initiate a lunch or whatever. It takes courage. I know some of these things can be hard. I'm not saying it won't be without mild nervousness or the awkwardness of new friendships and such. Of course, that will be there, but confident people are willing to endure those initial feelings to get to real friendships. Everyone in my family is doing this right now. My husband is at a new company. He says every time he gets on the elevator and there's someone that he doesn't know, he will introduce himself to them. He makes the first contact. This is confidence. Now, the second scenario where we can feel left out is when we see other people in activities that maybe we weren't invited to. Our friend tells us that she went out with other friends last night. We see on social media some couples got together and we weren't invited. Now, side note here, I would have hated social media in high school or college. I'm so glad it wasn't around then. I know I reeked of insecurity and needing to be included then. And I can see now that it came from my own insecurity about myself, about my body, about my life. But back to today, We see or we hear that other people went somewhere or had a game night or we weren't invited. Y'all, confident people do not need to be invited to everything. Confident people don't need to go everywhere, be everywhere. They can say no to invitations when it doesn't work for their schedule or priorities. But even so, what do we do in situations when we want to be invited? Many years ago, some friends were talking about an annual trip they took to the islands off Massachusetts. It was something I would have loved to do with women I love. I realized as I got to know them, it was something they did every year. I did feel this little tinge of feeling left out, but then I realized they didn't leave me out. This is something that they started doing before they knew me. In our conversations, I did not say things like, "Oh, you guys are so cool. You'd never want someone little like me to go." I didn't say, "Oh, I'm not in your group. Okay, I see how it is." Comments like that are meant to make other people feel guilty. And come on, who wants to be included because of guilt? Those comments reveal our insecurities. And y'all, I've said them in the past, and I don't judge other people who say them. I get it. It's human nature. It's just that those comments aren't what draw others to us. They aren't confident. In fact, the energy those comments send off is a needy energy, and it's a repelling energy. Instead, I remember saying to my friends, "Oh my gosh, that trip sounds amazing. Tell me about it. Where do you stay?" "Well, I'd love to go if you ever have room, but no worries if you don't." I didn't want them to hide talking about the trip in front of me. We can increase our confidence if we're aware of how we hold our face, our body, our tone of voice, our comments when others tell us about events and happenings in their lives. We increase the chances of being invited anywhere if we show up in life with positive energy, wanting to give to others, not needing to be given to. A year ago, I told a girlfriend that I was going into Boston with 3 other friends for the weekend. And the friend I was talking to, she doesn't know those friends. And I know she's confident to not feel bad. I can talk to her about anything in my life, and she doesn't need to go to everything. She told me a few days later that she had been talking to her sister, and she replayed our conversation about how I mentioned going to Boston. And she said, "I'm so glad Heidi feels comfortable telling me those things. And we aren't needy and having to be included in every single thing each other does. We're secure enough in our friendship to have friends from other parts of our lives and to share those experiences without jealousy or feeling left out." This energy attracts other confident people into our lives. And at the same time, confident people can say, "Oh, you went to that new restaurant last night? I'd love to go. Next time you go, let me know. Or I may go in a few weeks and I'll text you." There's nothing wrong with letting people know what we enjoy and what we'd like to be invited to. And if they don't invite us, we don't have to make it mean anything negative about ourselves. I love friends who say, "I want to come visit you." I love friends who don't need formal invitations to be part of our life, but rather take the initiative themselves to include themselves as they're able. Confident people don't place the burden on others to include them. They assume the responsibility to be in situations and circumstances where they want to be. I'm excited to start playing pickleball. I have 2 rackets for me and my husband. I'm watching YouTube videos to learn the rules. I've been invited to groups where they play. Now, if I learn of other small groups who play, I don't have to feel left out. They may have a limit on how many people they play with. They may have a limit on the skill level, which may not include beginners, whatever it is. Generally, people are not walking around looking for ways to exclude us. They just aren't. Our job then is to walk around in life being the people who aren't carrying this "I'm always left out" energy with us. And being left out is all subjective. No one can prove that you or I were left out. Being left out is the lens through which we would see a situation. And the lens is formed from our own thoughts about ourselves. This is what's so revealing if we do the internal work when we maybe are feeling left out of anything. If we stop and are willing to evaluate what we're thinking at the moment, that is where we can see the deepest thoughts and beliefs that we have about ourselves. This is where we learn what we really think about ourselves and about others. Do we like who we are? Do we think that we're fun to be around or a drag? Do we like others? Do we think we're friendly? Do we like being ourselves? Do we think other people like us? How much do we need other people to like us so we like ourselves? Do we seek and need invitations to feel validated, to feel good? Like I said before, we may be left out of parties, meetings, game nights, etc. We just don't need to focus, feed, and grow those beliefs and stories. We can choose to believe it has nothing to do with us, which is true. With that being said, depending on the answers to those questions we ask ourselves, we may be showing up and acting like people who others do not want to include. Do we need to change the comments we make about people and things? Do we show up in a way that attracts people versus repels people? Maybe our body language is telling people to go away and is putting up defenses. That's good awareness. Notice it, then change it. Remember also, when our brain has a lack of information, it will on default fill it in with the negative. So if you see friends gathering for a walk and you didn't know about it, your brain may think you weren't invited, when in reality, the gap of information could be filled in with, oh, I didn't see the email invitation, or they mistyped my phone number or email. We want to learn to fill in the gaps of information with the most generous interpretations, so we show up as a kind, open, friendly person, regardless if we're invited or not. Ultimately, we want our sense of who we are, our identity, to come from inside of us, from our thoughts, from our validation, from the stories and beliefs we hold about ourselves. We don't want to constantly be interpreting how another person sits, or what they say to us or don't say, or how many invitations we get as determining our worth. This will always leave us insecure. Solid, anchored confidence is being okay with what we think and feel about ourselves, liking how we show up, liking our energy, and desiring to fill other people's buckets. We can do the giving and not need to desperately be filled by others. It's our job to include ourselves, to fill our deep internal well of belonging and being loved. No external validation can fill an internal hole of worthlessness. If this is work you would like to do with a coach trained to help you see where your power is to change, I'm taking new clients for this year. I have several spots opening in the next month. When you change, the people around you change. Our energy is contagious. And when our children see us change, we model for them how to confidently interact with the world, and their world changes. That's it for this week. If you would like personalized weekly one-on-one private coaching to give your family the gift of your confidence, sign up for that consult call at HeidiBenjaminson.com. A confident mother is the greatest gift to her family, not a perfect mother. Our families want us to feel confident, anchored, and calm. I can help you uncover this version of yourself. Have a great week.